everyone. I'm Adam Brown, and this is Shell Point Today for Wednesday, August 13th. On today's show, we'll continue our retrospective on Hurricane Charley, the big storm that came through southwest Florida 10 years ago this week. This time, the aftermath. We'll also get another hurricane tip from Bob Southern, and we'll have a look at the newly reopened stamp room in the Island Tunnel. But first, a few reminders for you. Tomorrow is Beach Day. It's another chance to get out with your friends and head to the sun, shade, and surf. The group will head to Delnor Wiggins Pass State Park for fun, food, and frolic. A picnic lunch will be served, and a traditional stop for ice cream will be included on the trip back to Shell Point. The cost is $16, and you will be on your own for the ice cream stop. Court pickups start at 8:30 a.m. on the island. You can sign up at either service desk. The Suzy Q has added some special trips to the normal lunch runs to Rum Runners and The Joint. Tomorrow is the first of 3 trips over to the nearby St. Charles Yacht Club. Now, Yacht Club isn't just the name of a restaurant. This is a real yacht club, and so there are a few expectations of patrons that are a little different from our normal lunch stops across the river. You need to know that resort attire is required, so no t-shirts or flip-flops this time. They are looking for collared shirts, but mercifully no jacket is required. After all, it's August in Florida. I don't even know why I'm wearing one. Also, the yacht club only accepts credit cards for lunch, so leave your cash at home and pack the plastic. The Shell Point Stamp Ministry is a project that has been going on for decades to raise money for the publication of missionary materials. One of the facility projects this summer was a refurbishment of the stamp room in the Island Tunnel. After keeping the stamp work going temporarily using the lobby of the train room, volunteers of the Stamp Ministry moved back into their renewed space last week, and we were there to take a look.
We're really thrilled today that we are able to reopen the stamp ministry here at Shell Point. We've gone through some modifications, some upgrades, some nice new things that have happened for them, an adjustment in their space, but the stamp ministry that has been a benchmark for Shell Point for a long portion of our history, and the service that it provides around the world in its benefits of Christian material for Sunday schools and so on in some of the foreign countries has been all a result of the volunteer activity of our residents and what they do with the stamps that are sent from around the country for processing here for the benefit again of ministries in other countries. So we are just thrilled today to be able to open the stamp room in its renovated stage for the ongoing ministry and the next generation of services that it will provide to the community here at Shell Point and around the world.
Everything in the room is new, except the light fixtures, the stamps that have come in, and the people that work here. Everything else is brand new, and we're thrilled with it looking so clean and nice, and we'd love to have volunteers come.
We appreciate your willingness to work with us as we made this adjustment. Changes always don't come real easy to any of us, but we've made it, and we always consider the benefit of having the stamp ministry here as a great way of ministry around the world that comes from people who donate as well as for the people like yourselves who participate. So we thank you for your patience as we've gone through this, and just hope that this will be a nice facilitating room for you to carry on this ministry in a very effective fashion. So thank you, and God bless you as you make a real difference for this community and around the world.
Today's installment of our Hurricane Charley retrospective deals with what happened after the storm, and believe me, it was a mess. People were happy to be home and sleeping in their own beds, but the next morning, everyone had to deal with the realities of no air conditioning, no power, and in some cases, no roof. Here's what Shell Point staff and residents remembered about Charley's aftermath.
When the winds finally died down and we opened up the windows and looked out and saw all the damage, all the trees blown down and some of the roof blown off the church, so we could see that much.
The destructiveness of that storm was evident everywhere around us.
Big trees you would never have thought would have come down, they came down.
I have an anemometer installed in my building. The maximum wind speed peaked at 137 miles an hour.
It was just like a war zone out there with all the trees blown down and litter everywhere. It really was a frightening sight. To imagine what it would have had to have been to have stayed in the residences without evacuating and not having a shelter at Shell Point.
The doors opened. There was a collective sigh of relief.
First of all, I think everyone really breathed a sigh of relief. And then number two, everyone wanted to get out of there right away.
Everybody wanted to get out of there first. And poor Lynn Snyder, she was trying to control that thing. And she did a great job, but the people just going out there, there's nothing she could do about it.
Number one, to get fresh air. Number two, to see what was going on. And number three, to try to squeeze out if they could. People were anxious to get out and get home.
The end of the time in the shelter was just sort of the beginning of the issues to deal with afterwards.
Near midnight, and of course being dark, they couldn't be sure of what might be blocking the sidewalks and so on.
We had to have car lights turned on so that we could see our way back with these people that we were escorting back.
The strongest memory I have was how dark it was when we came out. We had some flashlights, but this was an area that I was completely familiar with, and yet I was totally disoriented.
I had a hard time getting my key in the lock because I couldn't see.
We looked up in the sky, and there was such a beautiful starry night. And he just, realized that life goes on and tomorrow's going to be a brighter day, because it was just amazing.
To my amazement, Sand Dollar was completely untouched.
Not one drop in our apartment. We came through it really well.
The ice cream had in the freezer had partly melted.
Everything in my freezer. The trash rooms were full.
No water, no refrigeration, no air conditioning, no light, of course.
Our water was not working, but we didn't know that because we're on the second floor, so the people on the 8th floor couldn't flush. But we could flush because we had all the water from 6 floors, 8 floors above us.
Well, we got the water from the swimming pool. Got buckets of the swimming pool and put it in the bathtub.
Future hurricanes after Charley, both tubs were filled.
All I did was take a shower and fall into bed and sleep till the next morning.
We took cold showers, at least I did. It felt really good to have a shower.
But we had our own bed and we were home. So that made all the difference.
The pastoral staff from Village Church was there picking up the garbage, doing helpful things like that. And that was, wow, there goes Pastor Nesselrode, there goes Pastor Bartholomew, carrying around one of those big green bags, collecting the leftovers from the lunch meal.
I ended up driving a bus and seeing people to their apartments and that kind of thing.
I remember Mr. Dice was one of the last ones to leave, and he had to be absolutely exhausted, but he was not going to leave until he knew every resident was back safe.
I remember not sleeping for 48 hours, I think it was, from the time it started. And I got home about 4 o'clock in the morning, I believe, and it was pitch black, and I got home to 2 of my windows being blown out of my home and some tile blown off the roof. But I was more interested in just finding a bed to lay down on, and slept for about 4 hours, and then came back and worked for another close to 20 hours because at that point what we were having to deal with was displaced people out of the mid-rises.
We lost significant chunks of all 3 of those roofs on those buildings. Probably about 100 apartments were affected by water intrusion after the storm.
That put on a whole new set of issues. What do I do now with facilities that didn't have a roof?
I actually was asked to work on sort of a retainer and help get the mid-rises back into shape. And so immediately we found 150 or so units that had suffered damage out of the 210, I think, that are in the 3 buildings.
Ended up putting 3 entirely new roofs on all 3 of the mid-rise buildings.
Shell Point had roofers here at 7 o'clock in the morning following the event, based on the fact that we had the leverage with the staff and we had done the planning.
Between 50 and 60 of the residents had to actually be relocated.
I remember the Aries living in the guest house for a very long time and being extremely patient.
There's an old cash and carry up at Miners Corner, and it was empty. So we rented it, and that became like a staging area. Items from the apartments were stored there in that warehouse, and we would check it about 3 times daily. We air conditioned it. We got everybody back in, I think on the 62nd day, everybody was back in their homes. So we were really excited about that.
They were prompt to get right there and dry it up and put the big fans on once we had electricity, and we had electricity soon afterwards.
We were among the very first in the community to get electricity restored. I think, we got home about midnight. I think it was perhaps as early as 9 o'clock the next morning when we had our electricity back.
Fortunately, with our relationship and planning with FP&L, we were able to get our systems up and operating quite quickly, and we're operating far, far in advance of anyone else in the greater geographic area.
What about our home? You know, is it still there? Is everything okay?
When I got home after the storm, a lot of trees were down.
I kind of joke around with people. I tell them we lost a tree, but we found it. It was on our roof.
There was no power at home for a while.
So after about 4 or 5 days of that wore pretty thin after a while.
We were working 16, 18-hour days, and you go home and try to get some rest. You couldn't. And I know likely as not, you just get up and come back to work because you couldn't sleep anyway.
I wanted a cup of coffee. A cup of hot coffee, and that needed, I wanted some energy, a little caffeine.
I went upstairs, and I had a couple of sodas in the refrigerator upstairs in the copier room. And I went up there, I opened the refrigerator, and the coolness was still in it, even though the power was off. And I pulled out that drink, and I think it was the best drink of soda I've ever had in my life. It was cold, and we were all soaked and hot, and I'll never forget that soda.
Given the destruction at everybody's homes outside, everyone came back to work as quickly as possible to help with their cleanup in every area. It was almost as if you didn't have to tell the majority of the staff what to do. They just knew what to do.
They were pretty exhausted. Some of the CNAs, they worked so hard in there.
We went out door to door and asked people if they could come and help us hydrate the residents in the pavilion.
In a skilled nursing facility, if I had 15 volunteers, I was thrilled. So this was really my first introduction to our 200-plus pavilion auxiliary. Afterwards, to have them come in, I remember them bringing fans from home. I mean, I think we had 30 or 40 fans easily throughout the building. A lot of them came in and helped us hydrate residents, just passing up and down the halls with water and helping the residents drink water. Just, again, it was whatever it took.
There was so much patience and so much helping, residents helping residents.
So there was a we've survived this together kind of attitude. We can make it. We're okay.
If there's one thing we learned about leaving the shelter, it's to bring a flashlight. Making your way around in the dark, even if you know the way and have done it hundreds of times, is an entirely different challenge when it's pitch black outside. That's why Hurricane Bob encourages all of us to be ready with our flashlights.
Sometime during a hurricane, your power is likely to go off. So have some flashlights around. It could be a table model like this, it could be a handheld like that, or it could be something in between like that. Oh, and don't forget some batteries. I'm Bob Southern, and that's good hurricane season advice. Oh!
Now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, academy news, menus, and village church connections.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chandley and this is Jill Aldrink, and we're going to tell you what's going on here today. At 8:45, we start with Lilly & Company Jewelers here for their weekly visit at the Resident Activity Center. Also here for their weekly visit is Jurassic Travel. They start at 9 o'clock in the egret room. Also at 9 o'clock, we have the men's round robin doubles tennis at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. 9 o'clock is also the time the watercolor group will meet with Phil Hilton in the art studio. At 9:15, the card making and scrapbooking group will be down in the Tarpon room. We're going to go to 10 o'clock now with the ladies' Bible study that meets in the Osprey room on the island. At 10:15, the Model Yacht Sailing Club will be down at the Woodlands Lake. And we'll round out the morning at 11:30 with Health Connections class, Agility and Flexibility. That'll be in the Health Club. That's currently full. That concludes the morning activities. Jill's going to continue through the afternoon for you.
Thanks, Bev. At 1 o'clock, you can play chess in the Library Lounge on the island. At 1:45, Health Connections Balance and Mobility Training Level 1 will be meeting in the Health Club, and that is currently closed. At 3 o'clock, the Bible study group will be meeting in the community room at King's Crown on the island. Also at 3 o'clock, we have Health Connections Pilates Stretch in the Health Club. Also at 3 o'clock, the Memory Care group will be meeting in the Behavioral Health Center in the Medical Center. At 3:30, Health Connections Aqua Agility and Conditioning will be meeting in the LifeQuest Aquatic Center. Indoor Bocce will be in the Health Club at 4:30. And at 5:30, the Singles Dining at the Crystal. We'll finish the evening at 7:15 with prayer and praise in the Social Center on the island. That concludes our happenings for Wednesday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Menus for Wednesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is barbecue chicken with fresh vegetables and mac and cheese. The dinner special is the pasta buffet for $12.95, and the soup of the day is pasta fagioli. In the Island Cafe for lunch, the special is mini burgers with grilled onions and fries for $7.25. The dinner special is fried shrimp for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are grilled pork chop for $14.95 or chicken Oscar for $15.95. Menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, I'm Randy Woods, and here it is, the middle of August, almost the end of the summer, and we have had wonderful experiences throughout the summer singing together here in the community for our summer choral workshops. Well, the last one is right around the corner. On Thursday, August 21st at 10 a.m., we'll meet again in the Grand Cypress Room, and all singers are welcome to come, whether you sing in a local church choir, the Shell Point Singers, or the Village Church Choir, or maybe you've never sung at all, but would like to sing in a choir experience. I invite you to come and be part of this last choral workshop on Thursday, August 21st. Our guest presenter is going to be Rob Flint. Many of you have seen Rob or know of him because of his significant ministry and leadership at the McGregor Baptist Church. Obviously, that service is televised several times throughout the week on TV in our community. Or you've been to the church. Rob has had a great ministry there, and he's a fine singer and certainly a qualified leader. He brings another dynamic to our choral experience as he comes with us to be with us this week. As Rob comes to be with us, you will enjoy what we have sung in the past is something very traditional, something contemporary, something new, something old. And we'll do that again this week. Our choir here at Shell Point, both the church choir and the village church choir, have sung that favorite anthem by Schubert, the Heilig, 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 Holy is the Lord. That will be one of the anthems that we'll sing together this Thursday. We'll also be doing a nice hymn arrangement of Worship the King. And then he's got a couple new pieces as well that will surprise you as we sing together. Rob has told me that several from his senior choir are going to come along and join us as we sing. So I know it's going to be a delightful time and a great way to finish out the summer choral workshop. So I trust that if you haven't signed up, you'll still come. But if you have signed up, continue to participate. All are welcome. All singers come out. We've had about 50 to 70 come to each of the sessions. And for this last one, I know it's going to be a grand time of singing. So join us Thursday, August 21st in the Grand Cypress Room at 10 a.m. We'll finish by 11:15 with our guest presenter, Rob Flint from the McGregor Baptist Church. I know you'll be inspired, entertained, and hopefully educated as we sing together during the summer choral workshop. I look forward to seeing you there.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow and we'll hear some more reflections from Shell Point staff and residents who went through Hurricane Charley and lived to tell about it. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Wednesday, August 13th. I'm Adam Brown, and for all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.